this candidate forum that we are hosting here. So good to have you here with us. Just a couple of quick things as we get ready to begin, because everyone always, when it comes into a different building, they need to know some things, and so I want to make sure that you are aware that the restrooms are actually through the community room, which is the big room just on the other side of the double doors out here. All the way through the community room, there's another door, and you'll see the sign that says the restrooms are over there. So just want to bring that to your attention so you're not searching, so that you can get back to your seats really quick for the for some of the more answers that you have. So I just wanted to welcome you to Journey of Hope. I had a conversation with Mayor just a little bit ago, because I was asking him, I said, hey, what are your favorite games? So I wanted to know what some of his favorite games was, but he says, actually, I'm not sure about favorites, but he goes, there's one that I never like to play. I said, yeah, what's that? He goes, I never like to play hide and seek. Because it's hard to play hide and seek as a politician because people follow you everywhere, right? Yeah? All right. That one killed. All right. But it is great to have all of you here. I know that we're going to have some fun. We'll hopefully get your questions answered. If you have not filled out some questions, I know that there are slips of paper going around. If you don't have them, make sure you wave. There's people in the back that can get those to you, so you can write down the questions. We can get them up here to all of our candidates here tonight. So without any further ado, I want to bring up Active Grace. Active Grace is going to share our national anthem. So I'm going to encourage you to stand as you are able, remove caps, and enjoy our national anthem sung by Active Grace.
And to see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So as we get together tonight, there's a couple of things that we need to go over. One of the things that we need to go over is that up there. So I know that it seems like legalese, and always, things are written really small so that you really don't know what's up there. But I need to read some of the rules for this particular forum for you. So they are up there just in case you can see them. But here they are. So maybe I should turn and face them. I don't know. Candidates will be seated in alphabetical order by last name. Maybe. Yes. Okay. Each candidate will be allowed 30 seconds to introduce themselves. That will happen very shortly. Introductions will take place alphabetically. Audience questions to be written on those slips of paper that you already have. Ushers will collect the written questions from the audience so that we can get those to the moderators. The moderators will select which questions are going to be asked. Every question will be answered by every candidate. No gimmies, you can't pass out on one of them, so sorry. All answers will be timed by this wonderful timer here that is moving. You're just setting it up, okay. All right. I'm already over? Man, I tell you. The timer will be prominently displayed where it can be easily seen. The moderator will read each question aloud. The moderator will state the time allowed for each question. Answers may be shorter than allowed, but not longer. The moderator will identify who will answer first to reduce confusion. Answering order will be alphabetical by last name. For each question, the first person to answer will be shifted by one person to the west, that way. Each candidate will be allowed 2 minutes to make their closing statement. And so we ask that you hold all applause until all candidates have made their closing statements at the end. The entire forum is being live streamed. Oh, yes, being live streamed and broadcast over WRMN. And so I encourage all of you who are watching online with us tonight to share this live stream. Get through your social media accounts and just share this with everybody that you can to get the word out about this forum and hearing from all of our wonderful candidates. And the forum videos will remain on the internet for public access, because once it's on the internet, it's always on the internet, right? Yes. Okay. Just a couple more quick things. One of our candidates could not be with us tonight, has a work conflict. So Eric Pena regrets that he is unable to participate because of that conflict. So just so you're aware that that's the reason why he is not here. We also have a write-in candidate with us tonight who will introduce himself shortly. So, yes. And so now I'd like to introduce you to someone else. I'd like to introduce you to some of the wonderful gentlemen over at WRMN. And so first I just want to bring out Dean Delaley. So Dean, come on.
Good evening. Thank you, everybody. You know, we all know why we're here today. Chuck Kaiser called me on the phone and said, hey, Dean, we do this all the time. And I think he's been doing it since 2001. He said, how would you guys like to mediate the delegates that are going to be running for the council? And I said, yeah, let's do this, Chuck. So he brought along with him Bill Worst and, of course, Pastor Jared. We all talked. We said, let's do this. This is nothing new to everybody. This is a nonpartisan get-together, nonpartisan race. So this is the type of thing we like. For us, this is a privilege to be here for a lot of reasons over at WRMN. And today's really a special day for us as well. My partner, Dennis Green, right up over here, and myself took the reins of WRMN a year ago today. So we made some modifications. Some people like, some people don't like. But we're going to continue to make some modifications based on a lot of what our listeners are telling us. One of the things is that they wanted to see a little more balance in our politics. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to put balance to the politics, so what better platform than here? So we said, let's do this. Let's go to Journey of Hope. Let's put on they wanted a fun presentation. They wanted it to be casual, so no throwing of tomatoes. We don't want nothing, no spoiled fruit being thrown up at the front over here. I think we've got some good people. But you know, one thing that stays in the back of my head, the last event I was at, Mayor Dave Captain stood up and said, somebody asked him, listen, how do you decide, you know, which way do you go? How do you vote for this? And how do you vote for that? And he said, you know, just right up, boom. He says, I vote for the people. And I think that's very important. No matter what side you are, if you were blue, if you were red, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you should be voting with your heart. You should be voting for the person that's going to represent you the best. That's why you notice I'm black and white. I look like a funeral director today. That's because I didn't want to, because I had this cool red jacket I was going to wear with a blue tie, but I said, well, I don't want the mixed signal. So we're going to get this started. Dennis Sonar Green is going to give all the questions. We thank you all very much for this opportunity. And we are the voice of the Valley, talking to town, WRMN. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I guess it's my turn to talk now. The candidates will do most of the talking. I'm just here to facilitate the questions. I want a clean fight, nothing below the belt. Oh, wait, that's my notes, wrong notes. Hold on a second. Thank you, Pastor Jared, for welcoming us in to the Elgin City Council Candidate Forum. And thank you, Chuck Kaiser, for helping me out setting everything up as well. Really appreciate that. We're going to get into introductions. Each candidate has 30 seconds to do that. And we will start with you, Ms. Alfaro.
Good evening, everyone. Buenas noches. My name is Diana Alfaro, and I'm running for Elgin City Council. I'm running to reinvest in the community that has invested in me. I have built a career in bridging communities and breaking down barriers. I have 10 years of experience in 10 years of experience in higher education, 9 years of experience in community outreach, and 5 years in economic development and state government. I hope to earn your vote April 1st, 2025, and you can find more information at Diana, DINA, for Elgin.com.
Please.
Good evening. I am Maggie Beyer. I want to thank everyone for showing up tonight and for the Journey of Hope Church, Bill Wurst, Chuck Geiser, Dean, and Sonar for being here. And I want to say all of us know each other. I know other city council people and former city council people, and they've told me what a horrible involved job this is and so hard to make decisions. And I thought to myself, I wonder why the heck we're doing this. But I know what it is. We all love Elgin, and we want to make Elgin a better place by us working with it. Thank you very much.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Cecilia Brooks, and I am running for Elgin City Council because I love this city. I love the people, and I really want to thank all of you for showing up and wanting to become informed and wanting to be a part of actively in the decision process. So I'm really excited to get to know all of you and share some of my thoughts and ideas, and I'm very excited for a new era for Elgin. With eternal hope for the future, I say thank you, and I'm looking forward to this.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marcellus Day. I am running for city council. I am the write-in. I decided to go to do this because I've lived here my whole entire life, and I have seen Elgin at its best, and I've seen Elgin at its worst. I have heard things about Elgin, bad things about Elgin, and I tell people it's not that bad. So I want to do my part, and I want to help, and I want to be part of Elgin and make sure that our younger demographic that we can bring things.
Hello, everyone. My name is Corey Dixon. I've been serving on city council since 2017. I was reelected in 2021, and now I'm seeking my third term on Elgin City Council. I'm running again because I want to make sure that we continue to be transparent as a city, that we continue to be fiscally responsible, and that we continue to think forward ahead of all the other cities that surround us. Today and tonight, I just want to also just say thank you to Journey of Hope, to Pastor Gerard, to Chuck Kaiser for organizing, and good luck to all of the candidates. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dustin Good. I'm running for my second term. I got my start a little bit over a decade ago at ECC as student trustee. Started a student group over there, ended up serving 5 years at the Strategic Planning Commission for the City of Elgin. Spent a few more years on the DNA board, and then I've now completed almost 4 years on city council. So you'll hear tonight, we're going to start getting into some of the details of why we all think we're good candidates for it. But that's who I am. My name is Dustin Good. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you. My name is Mark Smith, and I'm running for Elgin City Council. I want to thank Journey of Hope Church, WRMN for hosting, and thank you to all of you for coming out tonight. I'm a 22-year veteran of the United States Army, basically committed my life to public service, including City of Elgin police officer and numerous commissions and committees throughout Elgin. Currently commander of the largest veterans organizations in Elgin, so look forward to a great debate and forum tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Steve Thoren. I'd like to welcome you and thank you for coming out on this rainy night. Thank you to Journey of Hope Church, Chuck Kaiser, who I've known since second grade. Also WRMN for putting this forum on. Someone said to me, you're going to see friends and family there. Well, all of you are my friends. We love Elgin. You love Elgin. That's why I'm up here, and that's why you're out there. I'm on city council. This is my second term. I hope to make a difference. I think I have so far. I look forward to the evening.
Thank you, candidates. Appreciate that. And then everyone has a microphone in front of them as well. We're going to move this one back down this way. So just grab the one that's closest to you. This next question comes from Mayor Dave Captain, and it is for 1 minute. The City of Elgin is required to present a balanced budget by the end of each year. If during discussions problems arise meeting the balanced budget required, provide your best ideas for the possible solution by providing both potential revenue increase or expense reduction to meet the shortfall. We'll start with Maggie Byer, please.
As far as what I would do, I think I'd have to look at the budget very closely. I'd have to look at all the committees that are on there and decide which are the best ones. If I have to reduce staff, I would reduce staff to make a better budget for the whole of Elgin City. And as far as what we could do for the economy, for the infrastructure, we should promote things here in Elgin. I think promoting things like better events that people would come to that would draw more people to our city. I think it would be nice if we had a very nice restaurant and hotel here that people could come to. We could do things on the riverboat too to give more revenue. And I know that we lost, I'm looking at the sign. I know that we lost the riverboat revenue, which is terrible, and we have to make that up somehow. So maybe if we had better events downtown on the Forest, the Festival Park, and people went there, that would be a better way of getting revenue for us.
In order to be driving and increasing revenue into the city of Elgin, what I believe we should be doing is cutting a lot of red tape to make it easier for businesses to open, thrive, and we need to bring business back to downtown Elgin to increase revenue and be able to put that back into our city and be able to increase our infrastructure and be able to collaborate as a city council. And we, the people, deserve to have a balanced budget and to have that passed on time. And we need to think about all of the residents of Elgin and prioritize that first.
I would have to say I would agree with bringing more stuff down to downtown Elgin. I think bringing a hotel down there next to the riverboat, connecting that. I know there was talks years ago about that. I think we should move forward with that. Cleaning that area up, because that would definitely bring people to come downtown Elgin. I think more ethnic food downtown Elgin would be nice too. Brings people to come here, you know, if we had a nice barbecue joint or Mediterranean place, I think that would also be great. And also something for entertainment, like looking for the younger demographic, you know, people that are under 21. Maybe they'd be bringing a gaming place here, you know, something like that. Oh, yeah.
Mr. Dixon, will you grab the microphone in front of you? Pass that one back down. Thank you. You've got it. That's red. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. 1 minute.
All right, thank you. First, I would like to say, before coming on the city council, I thought that there was a lot of fat in the budget. But once you get on the city council and you actually look at it in detail, it's not. The majority of things go towards personnel, okay? But if we get into a position where we have to cut something, you have to start with the things that you would like to have, not necessarily the things that you need. The necessities have to be paid. We have to make sure that fire department is paid, the police department is paid. We have to make sure that city services remain great. That's one side of it. The other side of it is that we actually have not lost all of the riverboat funding. It has reduced from 30 to about 10 million, but it is still there. But the great thing that we did as a city is that we've used those funds towards capital improvements and not towards balancing our budget. So it doesn't affect us at the end of the day. And so lastly, I would like to say we have to recruit businesses here, restaurants and shops that people want, and not allow taxpayer dollars to go out to our neighboring communities.
Thank you.
I'll piggyback on that a little bit. As Mr. Dixon pointed out, the budgets that a lot of people think there's a slop in, it's not as much as you think there would be. That's part of the reason we wanted to make transparency into our budget as clear as possible. That's why we contracted with an organization called ClearGov. So you can go look at this yourself and verify those numbers on your own. But our job is to connect everywhere that we possibly can. So if there's ever specific budgets that are allocated from mandates that came from the state, you know, obviously we're going to try and look to our state representatives. We're going to look to our federal representatives to see if there's any funds we can get from them. And to date, we've been somewhat successful, specifically related to our water infrastructure. But we all know there's a new dynamic at the federal level, and some of those funds might be shifting. So we have to figure this out in real time. We're running around, we're speaking with representatives at the federal level, at the state level. We're working with the planning agencies to say, hey, how do we, as Elgin, a unique city that has an increasing number of water infrastructure issues, handle this large unfunded mandate? And
thank you.
Working. Thank you. In regards to the budget, I agree with a couple other ideas on it. I think definitely we have to open up the books and see what the budget is looking like. Also need to take a look at making sure we do source and fund our vital resources and infrastructure projects, right, that are going to continue to keep the whole city safe. Number one, I think with that, look at potentially expanding the TIF incentives, resources, and maybe even the TIF area to continue to draw in those businesses, business owners, developers that want to, they're looking for places to go to that can call home, but that will bring in that money, that investment money to the city to help continue to make our income and our budget thrive rather than us looking at a loss. So again, expanding the TIF, I think, is going to be key, and then expanding that the incentives that we can use to draw in those new companies and developments.
Thank you.
Being at the end of the line, a lot of the things you were thinking of have been spoken. The first thing is I look at what we need to keep, and that is indeed police and fire. The most important thing is to keep our city safe. So the police and fire needs have to be priority, and they have to stay. Next is the mandates. As you all know and have heard about, the sewer separation and the lead service lines. The lead service lines go into all the homes to make the water safer. We're required to do that. We did get a lot of grants. Hopefully we'll still get some, but that's going to be an expense for the city moving forward, and we have to have it done. The timeline got moved up. Once we look at all of the things that we have to do, then we look at the things that we don't have to do, but as Mr. Dixon said, we want to do. That's where we have to address things. Where can we trim? What can we do? Hopefully we can extend the TIF downtown so that we can make it encourage for businesses to come in.
I have a number of initiatives that I would suggest that we implement. One of them is there was a study in 2021 from the Elgin Development Group that indicated in a retail market analysis that $240 million of Elgin money is spent elsewhere. We're going to other communities for entertainment, for eating, et cetera. We would work in seeing how we bring that money back. Even a portion of that money would help us with our infrastructure projects and other things. I would look into micro bonds, and that would be a way for the community to invest into projects that they want with the maturity of a small portion back to them. In addition to that, providing incentives to city departments, letting them tell us where can we make cuts. They best know what's going on in their departments, where can they save money, et cetera. And I think also to the question that the mayor had was also on approach. My approach is working with the community. One of the things I would like to implement is a participatory budgeting, letting you all also have a say in that budget, and you all have a say in voting on which projects you would like to see passed and done.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates. The city council has allocated $1 million to 2 downtown organizations for arts-related initiatives. This next question will be for 60 seconds as well. And we'll start with Ms. Brooks. How do you believe this investment in the arts will benefit residents and the downtown area?
I think that this will benefit our community greatly. I fully support arts, culture, music, and I think that that is so important to bring to downtown Elgin, and I mean all of Elgin in general. And I think that when we have a center as well as focus on arts, community, culture, that brings people to Elgin, and not only making our downtown beautiful, but also creating a welcoming feeling. And the city of Elgin really is a mixed, blended pot, and I think that's great. But we also need to be showcasing that, and I am very, very glad that we're doing that as a city, and I think that we should continue to do so.
I agree too with what Cecilia Brooks said with the arts program. We are a blended pot. We really are.
A little closer. Yep.
Sorry, I agree with what Cecilia Brooks said about us being a blended pot and bringing more art down to downtown Elgin. I think that with, you know, not even say this, well, we have the art studios down, there's an art studio downtown Elgin. Yeah, and I think it just maybe having some special big event downtown, like a festival park or something like that, that we can do. I think that that'll bring people. And if we advertise and we push and push and push, more people will come from those outside areas. And maybe if we can get like somebody, maybe if we can, if there's money in the budget to have somebody famous, somebody big to come on out, people will come and they will come and see that. So thank you.
Right. Thank you for the question. As many of you know, public funding for schools, art programs and things of that nature have been cut. So that $1 million that's allocated towards our arts here in the city is significantly more important as that funding continues to reduce. We have Side Street Studio Arts, who's downtown, who's been doing an excellent job. We want to continue to support them. We have Downtown Neighborhood Association, who partners a lot with the Side Street Studios and does a lot of things for the children in the community and the adults in the community alike, which is all wonderful. I also myself worked on a project called Making Space. And so there's a large mural in downtown Elgin that actually captures the African-American community here in the city and the investments that they've made over the years. So I'm someone who heavily believes in the arts. I have a couple of artists. My oldest daughter is an artist. My middle child and my baby girl are all artists. And so those art programs are super important. It's just significant to me as a councilman. Thank you.
So just to put it into perspective, our operating budget is around $180 million. Overall budget's over $300 million, just so we can try and right size that $1 million that's a portion of this question. And for me, I've lived downtown for 10 years, worked as a bartender. So I have a very firsthand experience of what it's like to be at a bar in downtown Elgin and kind of wondering like, where's our night crowd compared to the other communities that we can see up and down the river. But oftentimes you would have a crowd come in, you ask them, where are you coming from? And they would say, it's an event right down the alley at Side Street. So speaking specifically about that organization, they've put the evidence on tape. They've been punching above their weight class for over a decade. I think they just went on year 12 I think that was their anniversary that just passed. But so we know who this organization is. We have confidence in investing in them. And then we've attracted new talent from other communities. We recently attracted a group from Schaumburg, and they are putting up a lot of their own funds into a project. And I'm happy to support it. And I think it's adding to the spectrum of offerings that we ultimately have just in the downtown alone.
Thank you. I feel that the recent remodel or the current remodel that's happening now of the Hemmons is a great example of investment that the city of Elgin has made. And I think with something like this, with this type of investment, we should look at starting to get, higher level, higher name acts to come into the Hemmons, and that's twofold, right? It'll number one, it benefits our community because we are getting bigger name acts to come in there, and hopefully more folks will go out and enjoy the Hemmons and be part of those, and then also attract those from the outlying communities around Elgin to come in, purchase their tickets to see these acts, also, pre and post shows, spend their time in our downtown area, in our restaurants, in our nightlife, that sort of thing, which will definitely bring in some more money to us. And then any other sorts of, arts and crafts, arts festivals that we can bring in to Elgin in our nicer weather times would definitely do the same. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. The Hemmons. You've heard about it, all the different improvements, but some of those improvements will indeed bring better acts and more acts to it, including the loading dock in the back. Some acts wouldn't even come here because of that. Now they will, let alone the patrons. The patrons will come now because the restrooms are on the first floor and they don't have to go down. That's just one example that we're investing in the city, making it better. Art Space Lofts, what a wonderful facility that is. They just had a great presentation and display on their whole first floor. The other organizations that have the art programs, Elgin's already becoming known as the city of arts. And then we had the festival. And then of course on the promenade, they had a wonderful market down there showing so much artwork. People are coming in, we're investing in all that. Once again, I think if the TIF is expanded, we'll have more money for more organizations down there that'll help.
I think this question ties into the quality of life. What kind of quality of life do we want in Elgin? The arts is an opportunity for us to find that quality of life. One of the pandemics that's happening in this country is loneliness. That is something that has been brought up before in another forum. And that is very true. We need spaces where we could come together. Arts brings that, music brings that, art displays, art lectures, etc. A lot of these organizations are providing art at no cost to children, getting them to think outside the box, investing into our community. And so I would support the arts because that is a way of bringing more quality of life for Elgin. As we're looking into increasing our property values, as we're looking to making sure that people are spending that money in, as I mentioned, $240 million is going elsewhere. If we continue to invest into the arts, it gives an opportunity for people to stay in Elgin, to have neighboring communities come in Elgin and spend their money here.
And Ms. Byer.
It's on, okay. I think more events downtown, the Elgin Hemmons, we have it remodeled. We could have more Broadway plays down there. We could have magicians. We could have circuses down there, and we could have comedians. Let's draw people for these, events downtown. And once we draw them, that's the first step. But then we have to look back. Where are they going to eat? They won't eat after the performance. They want to eat before the performance. So let's have our restaurants have special programs for them or special pricing for them that would draw them to the restaurants. And we also need a hotel. It'd be great if we had a hotel right now so people could spend the night there or the whole weekend here in Elgin. In the morning, they could get up and have breakfast. They can walk around the riverfront and enjoy the things that Elgin has to offer to them. I also think that it would be good if we had more community projects from ECC, and we do have a number of them. I'm not criticizing them. And when I say ECC, I mean Elgin Community College. We go to a lot of programs there. And the Elgin Township has a program called Senior Access Pass, where people over 60 can have that, and they can go to those programs for free.
Thank you, candidates. This next question will be for 30 seconds. And we will start with you, Mr. Day. Some candidates have stated that the city has an image problem. Do you agree? If so, what strategies would you implement to improve public perception?
So I do agree on that, actually. So we do have an image problem. Like I had mentioned earlier, a lot of people that have not been to Elgin and hear about Elgin, they hear a bad name. They hear the violence. They hear, the bad things that happen. They hear about, robberies, stuff like that. So one of the things I would do is I would definitely say increasing for like the police, firefight, like that. We would increase that and we would put more cameras.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the question. Elgin, we do have a sort of an image issue. It's been getting better over the years. We are not what we used to be 30 years ago, 40 years ago, certainly, but we have improved over the years. We've invested in community policing model that has really shifted and changed how we operate as a city. We've disbanded a lot of the gangs too as well. But as we go forward and we're talking about our city to neighboring communities, and as we're talking publicly, we have to speak about those positive things. We were voted the #1 city for safety and other things.
Affordability.
Affordability.
So to build on that, we, at least in my term, we allocated funds for a communication department. And that was part of an acknowledgement that communications just changed. And thanks to the radio station here tonight, because you're actually still getting local word out. But largely newspapers have faded a little bit and social media has taken over our storytelling. And so the perfect example is our shots fired. If any of you are on Facebook, you probably see those posts. And I don't feel that it's a bad thing that the chief does, but it does present a perception that does not even align with our annual crime reports.
I'm sorry, I should have given you more time, but 30 seconds, sir.
Thank you. I'll tell you, since I was an Elgin police officer in 2009, I think this city has grown immensely, and not only in population, but has bettered itself, right? I think I've seen some bad stuff on the streets. I think as one of the only candidates up here with a public safety, law enforcement background. I'd like to help drill down into that shots fired stuff and then see, work with the police department, see where we can solve that problem and make it a more, spin it to a more positive for the city.
Thank you. Elgin as an image, you hear different words, different people say things. Negative. Spread the word that it's a good city. But when you drive into the city, it's improving all the time. All the entryways now, the bad buildings, the other buildings, they're going away. It looks better. Even the fact that for safety reasons, Tent City was moved, image-wise, it looks better. The people are in better shape, and people learn about that, and they know we're a caring city. I think our image is improving.
I think the image starts with us. It's with us having conversations of how do we see Elgin? And then challenging those conversations if we feel like it's unsafe. If it's unsafe, why is it unsafe? And let's have those conversations. How do you make it safe? Or is it just perception? A lot of the other candidates mentions the shot fires, et cetera. I personally feel safe in Elgin, right? The crime has gone down. It's 30-year low. We did have a peak last year, but I think the conversation starts amongst all of us and having that conversation of how do we see Elgin and how do we want to see Elgin and how can we work together?
I know a number of people in Elgin say they don't feel safe going downtown Elgin in the parking garages, even the center. They feel like they're being accosted by the homeless people. I would like to see the city police be at more daily events for us. When I go to a festival downtown Elgin, there's police protection everywhere. I feel safe. I don't mind parking my car, but on a day-to-day basis, I don't. So I personally like to see the police to have more presence downtown.
I think it really starts with building a sense of community, improving our community relations, building a community with one another, talking to our neighbors, actually getting out and talking to people, making friends, learning about our community. And when we start by building a sense of community, we all feel safe. When you know your neighbor, you feel safe. And that change really does start here at home. And that's how we're going to change the perception. But we have to stop being stuck in a time warp and improve for the next generations.
Thank you, candidates. I want to also thank the audience for participating, not only just in listening with your minds, but also engaging and actually being here tonight to fulfill your civic duty. Also, those of you that are watching at home or listening on the air, feel free, anybody who is present here, to write a question, and our ushers will go ahead and pick those up. If anybody's got a question, go ahead and hold it up, and our ushers will take it. Thank you very much. This next question is 2 minutes long because it is a big one. For incumbents, we're going to address the homelessness and Tent City. For incumbents, what actions have you taken over the last few years to address the issue of Tent City? And for new candidates, do you support the city's plan currently? Why or why not? We'll start with you, Mr. Dixon, please.
Just taking notes. All right. When I first decided to run for Elgin City Council and got onto the ballot, which was 2016, homelessness was a pillar of my campaign. And people would ask me, why are you putting homelessness on your campaign materials? Why is this something that you're even talking about? I said, because this is a big issue, it's getting bigger, and if we don't do something about it now, it's going to explode before us. Now, what I'm not happy about is that that actually has happened. To take the words out of Mayor Captain's mouth, a few years ago, we were kicking the can down the road as a city, and that goes to the previous council. This is not something that we just stumbled upon. We're talking about decades of neglect that has happened. Now, when the pandemic hit, I'm sorry, not with the pandemic hit, but when the financial crisis hit, we had to make some tough decisions as a city. So this harkens back to the question that was asked earlier. When you don't have the funds, then you have to cut some things. And that city council decided to cut funding to some social service agencies. That made a large impact. I also want to point out is that we host the state hospital right? So a lot of people, when funding was cut, even on the state level, when that funding was cut, people poured into our community. So we have two things that were neglect. We have the state and we have the city. Now, I'm not blaming anybody because I think that the city council was making the best decisions that they can possibly make with the information that they had, but those things have contributed to these issues. So as a city council member, I have been very passionate and outspoken about addressing the homelessness population. I work in the field of social services. I work for the Kane County Sheriff's Office. I serve in the role of Senior Assistant Director of Diversion and Reentry Programs. And so this is the population that I work with on a day-to-day basis. I work with people who have addictions. I work with people who have mental illnesses. Until we address the root causes of these issues, we're going to continue to have these problems.
So before I got on council, I think I made one public comment ever in council chambers, and that was to address this topic. At the time, a group of us were looking at the property at 600 South State Street. I found that property to be ideal because of its proximity to the DMV for getting identification. There's a state office just south of their walking distance, and then you have ECC that's just to the west. Again, walking or bicycling distance, because ultimately what we're trying to do, and what I'm happy to say is happening currently, is we're approaching this with a housing first model. Some of these folks, you know, if you may or may not know, in kind of our sightseeing and fact finding mission about what's happening at Tent City, came to realize that people have been back there for 25, 30 years. So to approach somebody and say, hey, you have to change everything about your day-to-day, your current circumstances without providing shelter, I just think that's it's not a productive way to approach it, and studies have bared that out. So we approach this like, first and foremost, we want to see a housing first model. Let's try and help people get shelter over their head and then provide wraparound services as much as we possibly can. But in that moment when I gave the comments to council before I was on council, was saying that there's a cost associated with inaction. We look at all the hard numbers right now, what we've put up for the grants that we got from King County and the ongoing expenses. But as somebody, again, who lives in downtown and was there during the pandemic and was working at a bar, the perception issue really flared up in that specific core of our business district. And so that's something I just want people to consider as you look at this, is that there is a cost for inaction. A lot of this because of where our churches are located and the soup kettles, it just happened to be, this is an area where a lot of people are next to our business district and parking deck. So I would have customers come in and say, hey, we just came here for the first time from St. Charles, and what's going on in that parking deck? And you'd be like, all right, you know, I live across the street. I've been here for years. It's not really what you think it is, but that's a cost because people might have that negative perception. They don't come back. And so I just keep that in the back of your mind as we talk about this, because I assume there's going to be more about it tonight.
Thank you. Can I get you to ask to read the question one more time?
Okay, certainly.
For the non-incumbents?
For the new candidates, do you support the city's plan to house the homeless at the Lexington Motel? Why or why not?
Yeah, that was slightly different.
You just,
I'll answer that.
it was the one before that.
I apologize.
He left me my wrong notes. I apologize, folks. Which question was that?
Sorry.
He said, it's my notes.
Yes, the question was for the incumbents, what actions have you taken over the last few years to address the issues of Tent City? And for new candidates, what do you support, or do you support the city's plan to house the homeless at the Lexington Motel? Why or why not?
Thank you, and thank you for rereading the question. So I think for myself as a non-incumbent, I think the Lexington Hotel is obviously a short-term Band-Aid type fix. I don't know if it's the best location. Obviously, you know, when this first all kicked off, I got a number of different questions from the families of EMSA who were very concerned about the school being directly across the street from the Lexington. I know that the city gave assurances, you know, that there would be no sex offenders, you know, in the Lexington, that sort of thing. So, and I think then on one part of it, the city, you know, told us that, you know, this wasn't going to be treated as a homeless shelter. It was going to be treated as we were just renting rooms and, they could, the residents would just be able to maintain their residency there like any other citizen would with no set rules, right? There weren't rules, but then I think now it's morphed into a little bit bigger problem as the city's trying to figure out, is it a shelter? Is it not a shelter? They're having to transport food out to the Lexington, and that sort of thing. So I think it's kind of an issue that really hasn't defined itself yet. And I think as a long term, obviously it's not the best way to go. If that happens, I don't think the city should, entertain even looking at purchasing that as a long-term project. I think the city should either use an existing city building or buy a brick and mortar building to, invest in a long-term sustainable mission type building where we could assist the homeless with co-located services for education, training, education, employment, health services, mental health services, and short-term living to get them back into a long-term housed situation. Thank you.
Thank you. I feel that the city's doing an excellent job with the situation at hand. The city had actually been looking into the Lexington for quite some time. They had a team of people working on the homeless issue, but then the fires happened. The fires happened and safety became the #1 concern. I went and visited Tent City with the fire chief. He was up in arms and thought he couldn't believe there weren't more fires. There were so many dangerous furnaces in there right next to mattresses. So we addressed this in a sped up fashion because of the need for safety. Safety was the #1 concern. But it affects many things. It certainly affects all of us. I mentioned this in the other forum. Whether you care about homeless or not, we all have friends that don't. We all have friends that say, I don't like Tent City. I want it to go away. I don't care what happens to them. That's what they said the day before the fire. But the day after the fire, those same people were saying, where can I donate this coat or this blanket? I want those people to have this. I know they lost everything. It showed that they're all human and they care. The city cares. As mentioned earlier, we want to take care of these people in a manner of dignity. We give them back their dignity, they can get back on their feet. We're working with them. They did everything they could with counselors. They interviewed them all. They transferred them over there. Ken Bruderly from the township drove the bus. Pads was even there to lend a hand and help. So they all went over there and now they've been there. IMSA did have a concern, but the city's worked with them, talked with them. So far, I've certainly not heard of any issues. There's been nothing but praise. Everything's worked out, and I think these people are on their way back.
How a community treats its most vulnerable population says a lot about who they are as a community. And so we do need to treat people with dignity and respect. We do need to support those that need assistance. And so I do believe that we need to find a housing, et cetera. And they found housing through the Lexington. My concern was approach, bring people to the table, have timely conversations so we could remove a lot of the concerns that came out from EMSA and other things. I think also we need to invest more into programming and find more innovative ways in supporting those that are confronting homelessness. Because the reality is, given the new administration and the uncertainty with a lot of people being laid off and a lot of Americans only being one paycheck away, we might be in those places. And so we as a community need to figure out not only are we how to support those that need assistance in staying in Lexington, but how do we be proactive to address communities and individuals who might fall into that need just because they had a job and it was taken away or because of the tariffs, et cetera. A lot of things are happening at the national level that is going to impact Elgin. So we need to prepare anything we can to be innovative with the programming. My background is in economic development, and this is why I am pushing for economic development and to be innovative so that way we can maintain our taxes low. I don't think we need to increase our taxes for infrastructure projects, for water infrastructure, we need a fire station and an ambulance out in the Highland Woods in the far west side. Our community over there is waiting more than 10 minutes to get a response for help. They shouldn't have to wait 10 minutes minimum for that assistance, right? We will need to create that infrastructure there. That's going to cost money. So we need to be proactive now in finding ways to get that funding so that we don't put that burden on us as taxpayers.
Good evening. My reason for running for city council initially is because of the homeless issue. I find that to be something very dear to my heart. And thankfully, the city council has rectified some of that. But you have to stop and think about this. What's the best thing or the best thing to do first? Housing first is the very best thing they can do for someone when they're homeless. And by doing that, you're going to effectively treat chronic homelessness. Hopefully their stay at the Lexington will make them feel ready to change their lifestyle. I'm hoping that in some form or factor that will make them feel better about their general health and about employment. And imagine them for the first time in ages, for some of them 20 or 30 years, sleeping on a mattress, having a shower, having warm clothes, and just feeling safe. And that was the one thing I really wanted for all the people from the homeless shelter to have. Also, I know that the causes of homelessness are usually from alcohol use, that's 36%, drug use is 21%, schizophrenia is 12%, and major depression is 12.2%. The leading cause of death between homeless people is usually drug or alcohol abuse. Now, the Salvation Army does have a free 7-night stay for people that are homeless. And if you stay there more than 7 nights, it's $5 a night for a family. So there's other areas they can go to. Also, PADS has open beds there too. Unfortunately, people don't want to go ahead and do what PADS wants them to do, like they have to be off drugs or they can't drink alcohol, but there is something there for them. And the House Bill 1365 made sleeping or camping on public property illegal, side streets and parks. And the Supreme Court said that finding and arresting homeless does not violate their 8th Amendment. But we don't want to do that. We want to find a solution to this for them. And I think the best solution is to use whatever resources we have. I'm going out of time. See whatever resources they have to take care of that. I know that there's $614,000 remaining from the $940,000 allocation approved in 2020 to address the homeless.
I'm going to be honest, as I always am. I completely think that this could have been prevented. I think that the situation was building up for a long time, and I would have liked to see preventative care rather than being reactive to what has happened. And there was actually a meeting at EMSA with some of the concerned parents, and I did go to it because I figured that was the best way to actually understand their concerns. What are they concerned about and why? And I actually found out at that meeting that they were not involved in this decision process and they weren't informed until after the fact that this decision had been made. Also, delivering food to the Lexington Inn, I've gotten a chance to speak with some of the people at the different soup kitchens where we're picking up the food and speaking to some of the people in the Lexington Inn. And it's really given me an opportunity to hear their perspectives and figure out what the situation is and how we can prevent this moving forward. Because this was building up for a long time, and moving forward, I would love to see actually addressing the mental health and substance abuse crisis. Homelessness is a multifaceted issue, and typically mental health issues and substance abuse issues are co-occurring disorders. So when we start getting to the root of the problem and addressing that, we can help these people in a compassionate yet fiscally responsible way. Those two things can exist at the exact same time. And I think that we need to start prioritizing that and also start getting to know these people and figure out what exactly they're struggling with and how we can help them. I really hope that we can continue to do better as a city. And I really wish that we would do compassionate and fiscally responsible solutions moving forward.
Okay, so I disagree with the Lexington program.
Just speak up.
Okay, I disagree with the Lexington program. I work right downtown, not too far from where Tent City was located. I manage Danny's Pizza on Douglas. I have spoken with a few people that were in Tent City, and I I'm very, I think that what making them go to Lexington, first of all, Lexington was not a good place to begin with. It is very infested. Again, I've lived in Elgin. I know about Lexington. I know what was there previously before Lexington. I think that that was a Band-Aid. I don't think that that is the right thing. But then we also need to understand too that it's not just the people that are in Tent City. We have people, other homeless people, and by us sending food over to Lexington, we are actually taking away from the other homeless people. Now, what I would do to solve this problem, I would look into some of our properties that are abandoned, and I would actually do a 3-step program to get a majority of these homeless people back into the community. So there are 3 different types of homeless people that we have in Elgin, actually, guys. We have the homeless people that have fallen on hard times, like everyone has mentioned about the the increase with everything. Maybe anybody can end up homeless, but then we have the mentally ill, and then we have the homeless people that just choose to be homeless. They don't want, they want to live off the grid. They want that. So my 3-step program, we would help the people that are mentally ill. We would help the people that have fallen on hard times. They start in stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. And we figure out or we solve that problem. We don't put a Band-Aid, we don't put them in somewhere where this is solving one situation. We have had this issue for such a long time.
Thank you, candidates. I also, the FCC has asked me to give out the ID for our radio station, WRMN 1410 in Elgin, and we are proud to be there as well, and proud to bring our candidates to those of you that are at home. We do have some questions from the audience here, and we'll go ahead and get started on that as well. For 1 minute and 30 seconds, I will start with you, Mr. Good. How should the city handle illegal immigrants and at the same time be more inclusive to the city's sizable Hispanic community?
I think the city has handled every function of its operation by following the state law, by following federal law. What we've seen recently was federal government has decided to kind of come into office and execute on a plan to go around and go into communities. And I think there's a lot of confusion around who is being targeted, who is not being targeted. So just like any other situation, if there's a warrant issued, the police department is going to aid in any activities that's being asked upon it. The city is not going to go out and start working alongside federal agents for illegal actions. So this is a broad spectrum of our community that we're speaking of. And I think what we need to do as a community is continue to be walking in the footsteps of what Elgin has always done. And I think there's been honest attempts throughout all of the different chapters of Elgin to, I think, be better than turning a cold shoulder or letting federal level decide how we're going to interact with our neighbors. And I think we've seen that throughout, at least my time here in Elgin, that we show up, during 2020 and our police department comes out with surgical masks rather than riot gear. I think that's a very important culture to maintain going forward, is that we have open communication with the core components of our layers of government. So whether that's sheriff at the county level or our local level.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you for the question. First of all, I think Elgin does a great job on this topic with illegal immigrants or immigrants that are from other countries. And by our own city's, I guess our own city's definition, Elgin is not a sanctuary city, as according to Mayor Captain as well. But we do a great job in providing those needed resources and assistance to those folks who aren't from our country, correct? So I think that we continue to do that. We continue to offer those services that are needed to help those folks be housed, be taken care of medically and that sort of thing, right? Some of that can and will come at a cost, but I think on the flip side of that, We have the CARE Act, which kind of goes into the police situation here. So with the CARE Act, the police are unable to notify ICE of anyone who may have an ICE detainer who they may have in custody. And I'll give you a good example that if they arrest someone for shoplifting and this person has a warrant, an ICE hold from anywhere, any other country but ours, and ICE wants to, come get them and remove them from our country, our police department is unable to assist with that. So they must release them back to the streets, and we don't want those people on our streets. Thank you.
Thank you. It's interesting. Elgin follows the law. We have a great police department, but as Mr. Smith mentioned, many of you probably have heard this. Our police department are not allowed to interact with them. The incident that happened in Elgin sometimes is not heard fully through the media. But ICE came to get a criminal that was at a house. They weren't checking for immigration status. They came to get a criminal. While they were at that house, the criminal was not there, but they searched the home and found a man hiding. He was an illegal immigrant. That's how that all transpired, and that's how it happened. That's how it was brought to light. Elgin is not a sanctuary city, but Elgin's a welcoming city. We have so much diversity here. We welcome all, we follow the laws, the rules, and we help people. Centro de Información, excellent example of that. They are noted and they're growing and they're helping more all the time. They have a notable concern right now with the new laws and everything that's going on, as they should. But I think it's not to the extent that they're worried about, as well as many of the people. Elgin is a city that helps everyone that has a need for it, that follows things. And when we have the new citizenship program, it's wonderfully pride.
27 billion. 27 billion is the amount of money immigrants paid in the state of Illinois. That is the contribution of immigrants in the state of Illinois, 27 billion in 2023. We as a community need to stand with the immigrant community. Not only because many of these ICE raids disproportionately impact a certain ethnicity, right? Let's go back in history a little bit. The Great Depression, the administration at that time deported, rounded up people, did ICE raids in the cool of it, rounded up people and deported 1.8 million individuals of Mexican descent. 60% of that 1.8 million, that's over 1 million people, were American citizens. They deported American citizens. What's happening right now with the ICE raids is they are deporting American citizens. They're rounding up individuals who are Americans, who are Native American, et cetera. It's disproportionately impacting communities of color. So this is why we need to stand with the community. As a community that's 47% Latino, I think we as a community of Elgin City Council needs to do everything we can to support our community members who have not broken laws, who are here just to make a living for their community, who are paying taxes, who are sending their children to schools with our children. We as a community are reflected in our character of how we support those that are vulnerable.
Thank you. When it comes to this issue, I know it's very hard. There's a way you might feel about it and the way somebody else might feel about it. When it comes to it for me, I feel that the people I work with in the city of Elgin, I work with Diana at Central Informational, and I know the struggles she files or has with her people that are her clients. Some of the people nowadays don't even want to go grocery shopping. They're afraid to leave their house because they're afraid they're going to be arrested. And Diana said that a lot of times people are trying to become American citizens, but there are all kinds of steps they have to go through. But the problem becomes they don't have a job. When they don't have a job, they don't have permanent housing. So the paperwork then gets lost. And then they wonder why people don't show up at court. She said that's one of the reasons that's going on. Central de Informational is a wonderful community that is helping a number of people. And I don't even know the exact number, but they help them with clothing. They help them with food. They help them with medical expenses. They do so much for them. I personally am very proud of them. I work with the Elgin Hispanic Network group too, and I think they're another group that does a fantastic job. And maybe them, with them, they could do something to help the immigrants in here in Elgin.
So I think the most important thing is in this multifaceted issue is understanding the importance of educating and in keeping our citizens informed. And I think that we also need to put an emphasis that what is going on at a federal level is, while it is going to affect the city of Elgin, that is at a federal level. And we need to be educating people about these issues. And on top of that, I think that a big part of this issue is looking at people as the Hispanic population and what we need to do to uplift them. I look at people as all people, and I think that we need to be uplifting all sense of community. And we need to stop looking at it as X community, Y community, and B community. We need to look at all people as our people and supporting, uplifting all of our neighbors and wanting to see everybody thrive, giving them the opportunities and the resources to create for exponential growth within this city, and treating people as people and really just prioritizing them as individuals and not as anything specific other than that.
Okay, so I think that Elgin has done quite a good job with getting certain illegal immigrants that have had felonies and things like that out of here. Now, I have heard the stories. Again, like I said, I work right downtown. I actually tried to hire somebody and they were so scared to come for their first day. They never came. They never called. I was worried. I was like, okay, what's going on? Then I heard about the protests that were going on in front of the police department and all of that. I've heard the stories. I haven't really spoken with anybody that is, had any situation like that. But I do agree that if you're illegal, you have a criminal background, you should be deported. I think that is something we need to stand by. But if you are illegal, you have been here 20 some years, and ICE is trying to take you away. I don't think, and you're a part of society. You work. You haven't caused any problems. You haven't had any issues. I know a guy, he's been here 30 years, hasn't even had a traffic ticket, and he's scared to come to work. That's not okay. That's not okay. That's not what America's about. So I agree with the situation and how Elgin's been handling with the illegals with the backgrounds, but we can't, we need to stand together. We need to help those people that, they're illegal. And I think we need to be able to have
the city of Elgin is a majority minority community. I've chosen to live in Elgin and raise my family because of the diversity that we all have here. And I cherish that. And I think that in life, I'm much better off because we live in such a diverse community. Now, Elgin is a welcoming city, and it's not just Hispanic and Latinos, right? We have people who are immigrants from other parts of the country. We have the Polish, we have Laos, we have people of other Asian descents, all migrating to be here in this city that is a melting pot. So while we're talking about this subject and we may think Hispanic or Latino, just understand that it's way more than just those two groups of people here in the city. And so as we go forward and we're making policy, we need to make good policy that's good for all people, all right? It doesn't matter to me if you're Black, if you're white, if you're Latino, Hispanic, Asian, or other, doesn't matter. We want policy here that's going to protect all the people of this city, that's going to make everyone feel included, that's going to make sure that everyone has a voice. And so during my time on Elgin City Council, I've made sure to be an advocate first and foremost for vulnerable communities. And so in working with not just the Latino and Hispanic community throughout my years and my tenure here on Elgin City Council, me personally, this is a way of life. This is a walk of life. This is how I teach my children at home. And when they go off to school, that's how they treat other people as well.
Thank you, candidates. This next one will be for 1 minute. And we will start with you, Mr. Smith. What is your vision for the use of the public land on the grove north of the library? And what would be your timeline for your vision?
Thank you for that question. My vision for that use of land north of the library, it could be multifaceted, right? It could be, we could look for something to develop in there. I think one thing, and it's no fault of Elgin, I think it was, just due to the history of Elgin and the factories and the way we use the river throughout history were different than the ways we can use the river now. So I think if we can flip some of that landscape towards the beautifulness of the Fox River and be able to, build our parks, build some of our new businesses looking onto the Fox River instead of the back of the buildings facing the Fox River. I think that's where we're going to find our best bet. So that could be a park, it could be a recreation area. We could have paddle boats out on the river. All sorts of things could be used in that area just as a multifaceted and maybe even an event area where we have music and festivals with the arts. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the things that was brought up earlier is it's important to have the community involved. And there's been a number of forums that have brought the community together to talk about what they want. And it's been mentioned, some people want it to stay green and nature area. Some people want condos. Some people want homes built that look like the older homes in that neighborhood. Some people want it to be commercial. Some people want a combination. It shows you that everybody has different ideas about it. I think what's best for the city is to address those ideas, work with the owner of that center property, work with the owner, work with the city on the southern part as well. We've got 3 different pods there. The latest plan looks like it could have parking down below. This would be over by just south of the library. North of the library, I do like the part recreation-wise, if we had some paddle boats and have the city be able to enjoy all the property.
I believe the best economic development or even community development is driven by community participation. It shouldn't be what city council wants, it's what the community wants, and bringing that participation in. As council member Thorne has mentioned, there is different opinions of how that area should be developed, but we should bring all those opinions together and we should find a compromise on what is the best use of that space. There's ways that we could bring recreational life down here to Elgin, which would be beautiful because we don't have that right now. There's ways where we could bring in more businesses and attraction and businesses that we are seeking that we could bring in, again, that retail leakage of $240 million that's going elsewhere that could help cover a lot of the expenses that we're looking that we need to cover in the future. I think we need to find a way of bringing everyone together. That way it is a community vision, not just a city council vision of what we want down there in that space.
Thank you. I was thinking of things that were missing downtown Elgin and things that would be good for people to come together. And a lot of people are into skateboards, the young people. It'd be nice if we had a skateboard area there for them. They could go there and they could be on their skateboards. Also, I thought the other thing is outside exercise. A lot of people are very active that way and they want to be outside. And some parks and some cities have all these different pieces of equipment that you can go through. Sometimes there's 20 of them. You go through this whole path. And by the time you get done, you think, hey, God, I really did that. I was good at that. And I'd like to see something like that. I want something more active. It would be nice to have more low-cost housing for Elgin, obviously, but maybe not in that location. And like Mark was saying too, if we could have things like the paddle boats downtown on the river and people could walk down there from that particular location, and we could sell tickets from there too. So there's so many things you can do with that property. And again, I know, sorry, but I'm running out of time. Again, I know all of us have a difference of opinion, but my opinion is to do something for the children.
So I would love to see a community garden and park collaborated by everyone in the city. That's personally me. But I think that the best thing to do is let's go out into the community and let's ask these people and let's figure out how we can collaborate. As multiple people have mentioned previously, there are going to be so many great ideas, but let's figure out how we collaborate that. get a vision and a dream and a goal for the city of Elgin and maybe create murals, artwork, and a community garden and a beautiful park where families can come to enjoy and where the children and the youth get a safe space to be able to just be themselves, because being a young person doesn't last forever. And I really think that we need to give them a space to grow, to figure out what they love, and to really get a sense of community, meeting their friends. And I would love to see that. But let's get out and ask them.
They'll take care of it.
Okay, so I think I have a couple thoughts on this theory. Again, I've lived over there. I work over there. I think an outdoor recreational, like I want to piggyback on the paddle boat thing. I think bike rentals, scooter rentals, things like that, that would be great. Another thing to bring back, I think, is going back into that ethnic restaurant, having like a little outer mall type deal with restaurants. I think that would be great right in that location. But at the end of the day, I think we should have the community decide too. It shouldn't be us up here making this decision or saying what we think. It's you guys. Maybe we sit down and we figure out, hey, maybe this is a better idea to go this route. Maybe a park is a better idea. Maybe, maybe expanding the memorial park for veterans and stuff like that.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. What is your vision for the use of the public land on the grove north of the library, and what is your timeline?
Thank you. Number one, the first thing I want to point out is that the city council is not making the decision of what's happening down there. We've had upwards of 3-4 community meetings to invite the public into to discuss what the options are. So it is not going to just lay in our hands. And a lot of the ideas that the community members have given are now in the iterations of what the possibilities can be for that property. Now, what I see that property as is an expansion of downtown. I'm the downtown candidate. I've been talking about downtown and what we're missing out on forever now. We are missing out on so much tax revenue in our downtown or throughout our city because people are leaving to go to restaurants and shops in other communities. And we're all probably guilty of that to some degree here in this community. So, when I was living downtown with my family, when we stayed in the row homes right across the street from Festival Park, oh man, I was getting to the good part.
So as it was alluded to somewhat, the city to this point has put together conceptual plans. There's multiple owners for that property. So in terms of establishing a clear timeline, there's other variables in play right now that are outside of the city's control. But I think what's important for us to do is to approach these different projects with a framework. And so we kind of have an expectation of the people that we work with, but the community and the developer, everybody's at the table. So I think this is a really good example of a triple bottom line decision. And for those of you who are hearing this term for the first time, it's making sure you consider residents first and foremost, like humans, when you're talking about a plan, the business community and the environment. And so we've seen this community mobilize, activate, and influence that plan already as it stands, right? The conceptual plan to embed those components into it. So again, as somebody who's downtown and is dealing with perception issue, the one way you kind of win that over is by convenience. So by getting more people in the downtown, living there and visiting consistently, I think that's going to have a nice slow burn for all the businesses that are currently established in our downtown.
Thank you, candidates. This next question will begin with Mr. Thorne. This is 1 minute. Elgin is currently governed by a council/manager form of government. What are your thoughts regarding this? Do you support this form, yes or no?
Thank you. I'm not sure if everyone understands how that works. I certainly learned a lot when I got on council 4 years ago. The city manager is over all the department heads, and they're all over all their employees, all the different divisions. The city manager essentially is the one employee that all of us have. We interact with him one-on-one. We work with him, we talk with him, and he explains to us the importance of all the items on every council member's or every council meeting's agenda. That way, when we attend the council meetings, we understand the line items. We interact with him privately and go over all the line items one by one, our questions, his questions, etc. I like this form of government. I think it works for Elgin. It's had a balanced budget for years, and I think we have an excellent city manager as well. Thank you.
I'll be honest, I'm a little torn on this one. And I've been asking community members more questions on like how they feel about it because I want to know your perspectives on it. And the reason why I'm torn is because this form of government works when the city manager is held accountable for things. There is transparency, there is initiatives being done, but timely transparency is not being done. We get the agendas as a public 2 days before. How do you organize? How do you provide feedback of what's going on or what are your concerns about, right? We heard from the EMSLA parents. They didn't know what was going on. We've heard from other people. We didn't know what was going on. There was recently a vote to ban certain products in Elgin, and that went by really fast. There's things happening at a very fast pace without clear communication to the community, clear communication on implementation, et cetera. And so I think there needs to be more, if we're going to keep this form of government, more accountability to the employee that city council has to ensure that we are communicating with you all in a timely fashion.
Thank you. I, on the other hand, really am very happy with the city government and the city council. I applaud them tremendously for what they just passed about the panhandling and the panhandlers not being in the middle of the street. I so many times drive down the road and the panhandlers are right in the middle, they're up to my car. I'm afraid that I'm going to hit them with my car. I'd feel bad if I did, but then if I did too, I'd probably get sued. So I'm so happy they changed that. Now they have to be on the side of the road. They can't be in crosswalks and they can't be in the middle of the road. I also think the city did a fantastic job with the homeless, and they all did that together, and without them working together, this wouldn't have worked. There isn't anything I personally think the city council has done wrong. They work well with the police department, the fire department, and I'm not just saying that, I really mean that. I'm so proud of Elgin and what Elgin has done, and I'm proud of the council and the government we have.
I am a huge advocate and proponent for a government that is run by the people for the people. And so while I respect the city manager and the council, I think it would be a very interesting concept to actually have a city manager that is also elected, because I think that in transparency and improving community relations between the government, the city government, and the people needs to be emphasized. And I think that when we actually take the time to elect good people and put candidates up for office, we give the community options. We keep our citizens engaged and informed, and we give them the ability to be a part of the decision process. A lot of the people that I have spoken to honestly have no idea who's on the city council. They have no idea who the city manager is. I have spoken to so many people and I have yet to hear one single name, and I would love to see that change. I would love to see the community actively engaged, not just aware of the decision process, but being an active part of it.
So I also agree with, I think that if we are going to elect someone as a city manager, they need to be more involved. Same thing. If you go out in your community, you ask somebody who the city manager is, they're not going to tell you. They don't know who's on the council. They don't know any of that. So I think if we are going, I think we could do more. I also agree with the panhandling thing was a bad thing in the past, but it has been dealt with, especially off of Route 31. You know, it was very unsafe. I know I was driving at night and people would be standing there in dark clothing. You don't see them, you know, especially in the bad weather. So, yeah.
So the clock started before I started talking.
Okay, we reset it real quick. I only got a pen. That's all.
Okay. All right. I was just pointing it out. All right. This topic, first off, it's not my choice as a city council member. That is a decision for the people of the city of Elgin. I can work with whatever form of government that you all decide that you want to have. When it comes to specifically our city manager, I don't agree with everything. I agree with some things, but what you have to do as a city council member is hold them accountable for the decisions that are made. And so that doesn't mean that you have to be in agreement with everything. You just have to have a working relationship where you can communicate and articulate exactly what your points of views are and why things should change. For those who are on the side of we need a full-time government, I understand those points. I also understand the other side where people are saying, like, we want to keep this form of government. For me as an elected official, I just want to continue to serve the community, and I can do that in whatever capacity that this community wants me to do. And I'm just going to continue to advocate and do my job on a day-to-day basis, and that's up for you all to decide what you want.
So I think this is probably a topic that I have gone this and like this and like this. But a little bit of a history is that the reason why this form of government came into play back in the 60s was because you would have a new elected official come in and they would hire a new team. And so maybe that worked then. But what we know now is it's really hard to find talented workers in local government. And for my day job, I work with innovation CTOs in local governments. And so I'm always asking them, A, how is it in your organization as it currently stands? And those who work in a different form of government will often bring up the fact that, well, we've got an election coming up, so this entire project that we've been working on for 3 years might just be scrapped. And so seeing those realities in Elgin and how it's a challenge to find talented staff and how there's a formalization of that education coming out of universities, basically taking this government that we currently have leans a little bit more towards efficiency than representation. But that's not always what we want. But going into this next chapter of Elgin, I think that it's going to be incredibly important that we do optimize for stability.
Thank you, and thank you for the question. I'm a little, again, I'm like somebody else said down here, I'm torn on this question a little bit. I know that we do run with the city manager type of government where the city manager does run the day-to-day operations on some of the bigger issues, of course, as we've talked about already with the homeless issue. Every time I drill down into that homeless issue, it kind of takes me back to the city manager's office, right? So the city manager has been city manager since 2016. Prior to that, assistant city manager since 2009. I would like to drill down and see, okay, what has been done since 2009 with this issue, right? So once we go there, then we can find out what is this? Is this a proper format or not, in my opinion. Again, that would be up to the citizens if they wanted to change the format the way this city is ran. But I think we need to look at also, is there new leadership needed to help push through the efforts we've all been talking about tonight?
Thank you, candidates. The next question will also be 1 minute. And we will start with you. Ms. Alfaro, how would you bring light to support small business outside of downtown?
I love this question. So economic development is the work that I am. I support small businesses across the state of Illinois. That is my full-time job, connecting them to resources and removing barriers from them, creating their business or growing their business. I think one of the things I have indicated in questionnaires, et cetera, is I'm proposing that we create and pilot a city economic development advisory group. This group would be composed of not only city staff of planning and zoning representatives, but also stay-at-home parents, business owners. This group would bring a plan not for all of Elgin, not just for downtown, east side, west side. I'm an east side resident, born and raised on the east side. I would love to spend more time in that community. I am guilty that sometimes I go into Hoffman Estates, into Barrington to go eat because of the options. And so my plan to support the small businesses outside is to find them the resources that they need. And it went really fast.
I'm sorry. I also think that what we should do is support them with media attention. A lot of people these days don't read newspapers, unfortunately, and I'm not complaining about newspapers because I subscribe to 2 of them. But I think a lot of the media, the Facebook, the Twitter, the TikTok, Xbox, whatever these things are called, and also radio stations too. I think we listen more to those these days. So I think we could do that by supporting other businesses and telling them, if you do this, we'll give you this type of media coverage. And that should help them, I would think, because media coverage means a lot these days, and also word of mouth. We talk about things we love in Elgin, and so we could spread the word that way for them too. That's my ideas.
While downtown and business in the downtown area is extremely important, we also do need to put an emphasis on driving business and economic prosperity throughout all of the city of Elgin. And the only way to do that is by promoting small businesses. So a few of the things that I've been doing in order to educate myself on this topic is meeting with the business owners, doing small business highlights, and actually trying to understand what it is like to be a small business owner in the city of Elgin. How can we help you? What are we as the city doing right? And what areas could we be improving upon? And so really getting these opinions and being able to do these small business highlights has opened my eyes to a lot of things. And we need to be cutting unnecessary red tape, keeping our taxes low, and promoting these small businesses so that they can thrive, and not just in the downtown area, for all of the city of Elgin.
I think we should increase on our social media. I think we should have certain events, get more small businesses to come forward. There are a lot of small businesses, but I also do find myself leaving Elgin and going to other little areas because, hey, but I think we should have certain events, especially downtown. We could use the center, the Hemmons, these type of venues for these small businesses to come, make a list of them, and start advertising them out through social media, through certain areas in Elgin. There are little areas in Elgin that still have billboards and stuff like that. We can put those small businesses up there. I know a few of them, and yeah.
As a sitting member of Elgin City Council 4 years ago, I recruited the Small Business Development Center into our city. That's one way that I've supported small businesses. And that's completely open to all of the businesses here in the city, of course, but even if you just have a business idea, you can also go there to this day and get your business plan worked on. I've also recruited businesses here as well. So not only do I advocate on the behalf of businesses, but I've also gone out into places outside of our community and recruited businesses myself to be here. And those businesses are still standing to this day. So when you're talking about supporting small businesses, it's about, not just talking it, but having action behind those words. I spend time making sure that I visit small businesses and medium-sized businesses too, and larger businesses, because all of those businesses contribute to our community in one shape, form, or another. Through my day job at the sheriff's office, I've done hiring events to get people to get into these companies, and also serve on the Alignment Collaborative for Education, which works with education and small businesses to get the people there that we need. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I see. We got all the way for an hour before you tested me. That's okay.
So in terms of tangible things, I think the first time I voted against a staff recommendation was to bring Nightmare on Chicago Street back. I live on Chicago Street, so it would have been bizarre if I didn't support that, especially somebody who used to be working in small business downtown. So that's a one-off event that really is a big shot in the arm to small businesses in downtown and any of the vendors that come into that area. More recently, the DNA brought forward a package of recommendations to loosen up zoning in the downtown. And this is allowing our businesses to kind of shift to the new normal of, like, you are going to have a storefront, but you're also going to be fulfilling orders out of the back of your store through any of the parcel delivery systems. So those are things that we've done from a city council perspective, but ultimately, it's always a plea back to everybody that comes to these events and everybody's listening, is please just get downtown, get to the local stores on Randall, your small businesses, and support them, because ultimately those sales tax revenue comes back into the city budget. So you are really, you're investing in the organization that you're kind of forced to invest in via all of your property taxes and sales taxes and those things. So please just shop local.
Okay, thank you for the question. I think definitely one thing, I kind of touched on this before, is expanding the TIF areas. I know you're not going to be able to see this really, probably. I took this off the city website earlier, but just a map of the TIF areas. And I think if we expand that out, allowing other areas in the city to be eligible or compete for the TIF, that will definitely help promote new businesses, new developments that come into the city, which will definitely improve monies coming in, right? So I think we also need to look at the businesses that are currently here and just maybe lighten up a little bit on some of the I don't want to say code or some of the rules that we have in place, but maybe some exceptions to policy for folks who we have talked about the artistic abilities in Elgin, folks that want to put murals on the walls of their building and other things that help promote their building and services. And I think that would be a great step forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, here's a perfect example of how this form of government can work. A friend of mine, one of my closest friends, is Scotty McGrath. He owns McGrath Nissan on Chicago Street. He talked to me about a year and a half ago and he said, Steve, I think I'm moving the dealership. Naperville wants me, Nissan wants me to move there. I said, you can't leave Elgin. He says, well, I'm just not sure I can stay. He says, I'd like to go out to Auto Mall out there at Randall Road, but there's a challenge and I'm not sure how everything can work. Well, I put him together with the city manager behind closed doors. They met. He learned what the city could do for him, what they did for the other car dealers there. Then he met with the landlord or the owner of that particular parcel of property. After negotiations and work, they were able to get it together. It was on the city council agenda. We were able to pass it and we were able to get Nissan to build and stay in our city. We'll get wonderful tax revenue from them. Their grand opening's in May.
Thank you, candidates. We've got a few more here. Thank you. All of you that are watching at home, thank you very much for your input as well. And thank you all that submitted questions. We're going to go a little bit faster now. And just to keep everything in order, we will start with you, Ms. Alfaro, for all of the questions. That way we can get them done a little bit faster. And so that I don't have to keep track of which person I think. Anyway.
Super fair, isn't it?
Thank you. The first question, answer as quickly as you can, under 30 seconds, please. Okay. How many city council meetings have you attended in person over the last year? It's a question for everyone.
Ooh, several. I don't know the exact number though. How many have I been in person in the last year? I've been to...
I didn't mean to start with a math question.
Yeah, I know. So I'm trying to I've watched them all. I was there when there was a storm and crazy enough, it was a full house that day. Wow. Everyone came out for different reasons. I don't know, maybe 5 or 7, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, in the last year.
Hi, I know how many I've been to only because my husband drives me every place. And he drove me to 6 council meetings I actually did in person, but I watch them on Zoom. And I think that's a fantastic idea. I can sit at home drinking my tea and I'm in my PJs and I can watch the whole council meeting. And I can even stop it when I have to use the bathroom. So I advise everyone to try. I think you'll love it.
Again, I'll be honest, because I always am. I have actually been physically to 2 city council meetings, and I made a point to do that because I wanted to see how everything worked. And while I've been to other cities as well and kind of understanding their government, I stress the importance of civic and active engagement. So not only just attending city council meetings here in Elgin, but also speaking at and engaging in county board meetings at the Kane County level. So please do that too.
So I have been to 4 in the past year. I unfortunately have not been to any this upcoming year. I've been pretty busy. But yeah.
I've been to nearly all of them as a city council member. For probably about the first 6 years, I didn't miss a meeting. I think probably in a couple of years, like I had, I was out sick, that I was traveling a couple of times, but I've pretty much been to every city council meeting. And if I'm not there in person, I'm calling in or I'm watching online simultaneously. So that's my answer.
I've been to all of them, 100%.
Thank you. Over the past year, I've been to, I think, 2 meetings. Many times the council nights conflict with things that I have going on at the local veterans organizations meetings as well, but also tend to go back and watch either the replay after I get home, or if I'm traveling on the road, I will watch it on the road as well. Thank you.
In the past 4 years, I've only missed 3 meetings. One was for my mother's funeral, and the other 2 were for work-related, where I was transferred out of town for a convention.
Thank you, candidates. Just quickly for a show of hands, would you vote to keep the dam? To keep the dam? A show of hands, please. Without all of the information, sorry.
One more time.
To keep the dam. Thank you. Only because I am running out of time. Let me see here. Last one that I've got for the last 30 seconds, and then we will invite Pastor Jordan back up. Not that you have to, but if you did, what organization would you donate your council salary to, if you could? Please.
I serve on the YWCA Elgin board, and so that might be the organization I would donate my salary if I could.
Without a doubt, I would give my salary to PADS. They do a fantastic, they work fantastically here with the homeless people. And again, the homeless is my passion here in Elgin.
As someone who has gotten to see a lot of different struggles with mental health, I actually recently lost my best friend in the entire world to suicide. And it has always been my dream to found an organization for suicide prevention in her name. And so that's what I would be donating my salary as a city councilwoman to, because I hope her dream lives on. And I hope that nobody ever has to bury a child or best friend ever again.
If I had the decision, I would donate my salary to Wounded Warrior Project. I think that we need to put more money towards not just the Wounded Warrior, but more of our veterans and stuff like that.
I serve on many different boards, like Youth Leadership Academy, Alignment Collaborator for Education, Food for Greater Elgin, and I'm missing a few others. But if I had to, Greater Family Health, but if I had to choose one organization, it would probably be Food for Greater Elgin, because it touches so many people. We're talking about our veterans, we're talking about our seniors, we're talking about our immigrants, we're talking about a population of people here in our community who don't have access to quality food, and Food for Greater Elgin provides that. And I have to stand to sit.
I think, I always look for organizations that are well-run and punch above their weight class. And so I think I'm since we're changing the format of how we're doing these questions a little bit, I'm going to split this one. I would say Centro and Side Street.
Thank you. Definitely looking for local organizations. Obviously, my heart's with the veterans as well. So I'd this will be a multi-answer, but probably American Legion, VFW, AMVETS, and then also Food for Greater Elgin as well. I think it's a great organization.
Thank you. I guess it says a lot of all of us of what we really love, but it would be tough for me. I would probably split mine, and a lot of it would go to the senior services. Seniors are near and dear to my heart, and I always say that if you're not a senior yet, hopefully you will be someday. They paved the way for where we're at. The other money would go to Anderson Humane, and I have a love of animals and keep the cruelty away.
Thank you, candidates. And as a show of unity for all of us being here in Elgin, if you could tell me, which candidate do you believe has the beliefs that are closest to your own? And we'll start with Mr. Thorne first.
Well, I'm going to make one friend and 7 enemies. It's a real tough question because in some cases, one person agrees with something I do, in another case, someone else does. I care about everybody. I respect you all for being up here. If I had to pick one that has the most similar qualifications or ideals, I guess is what the word is that you used. I don't know that I think that's really an unfair question for us.
Fair enough.
I'm telling you.
Okay, Mr. Smith, for you.
Who agrees with me?
Sure. Hey, then you can talk to the person in the crowd about it. But Mr. Smith, go ahead, please.
I mean, if I have to give an answer, I would say Mr. Good.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Again, fabulously qualified candidates up here. So it's definitely, I agree with Steve, hard to make a call on that. I think definitely aligned quite similarly with Steve Thorne and the public safety venues and arenas, as well as the veterans issues. But would also, if elected, definitely be interested in working with Corey Dixon on any downtown city redevelopment, revitalization projects as well.
Yeah, we're all trying to find ways to wiggle out of this one. I'll go with the newcomer. I'll go with Deanna. I think her and I maybe have a similar experience in the community where it's like we're maybe not, and I don't want to speak for your history, but I was new to this ecosystem. I mean, I watched the meetings, I attended stuff at ECC, participated as part of a committee, but ultimately I felt like I was kind of swimming into uncharted territory and waters, and I think we've had contact with similar people, similar ideas, and so that's my way of wiggling out of this. I'm going to pick somebody who's a challenger, and that's my answer.
Thank you. Mr. Dixon?
John Priggy. I'm joking. That's a joke. That's a joke. All right. As a council member, I'm probably known as one of the council members that will work with anybody. I've worked with, it doesn't matter which side of the aisle that you're on, I will work with anybody, but first and foremost, and it's not even a close comparison, Deanna Alfaro, I would see working with the most similar.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Day?
So it's a tough one. That is a tough one. You guys are all great.
I saved the best for last.
This is tough. I guess if I had to choose, honestly, I would say Miss Brooks. I like what I think she could bring a lot to the table in Elgin. I think she can bring that change that Elgin direly needs. And yeah.
Well, I respect, jump scare. I actually have to say the writing candidate, Mr. Marcellus Day, I think bringing a fresh ideas, nuanced perspectives, and with an emphasis on younger leadership, I think that he would be an amazing pick, and I fully support him as well.
This is an easy one for me because there's so many people that I really do admire here. But you said on the city council, you didn't say candidate.
I said, which candidate do you believe has beliefs that are
now you made it
closest to your
harder
own?
for me. Okay, because before I had a real great answer. As far as a candidate, it would probably be Steve Thorne. I believe in a lot of the same issues that Steve Thorne believes in, and I think we could work well together. But we would work well with all the candidates if they were elected.
Thank you.
I'm going off of a lot of the answers we've been doing, a lot of these forums and stuff, and interactions, and I value-wise more aligned with Councilmember Corey Dixon. The economic development that he is envisioning, I have that background and I want to bring that, and not to all of Elgin, but also how we look at equity, diversity and inclusion, because that includes more than ethnic and racial. It includes seniors, it includes veterans, it includes persons with disabilities.
Thank you, candidates.
Well, how are we doing tonight? You enjoying this? Yeah? So I got a question for all of you. Do you want more questions? You got more questions, don't you?
I have a few, yeah.
If we can go 3 like rapid fire 30-second questions, as long as we start here and then we start here and then we, right? Okay. Otherwise, we can go right to closing statements. So what do you think? All right. Everybody's here. They want to have conversations with you afterwards. All right. All right. So we're going to go, I guess we'll go to closing statements, and then, but I do want to invite everyone. Well, I'll do that in just a moment. Closing statements.
I believe each candidate has 2 minutes for closing statements. And we will, I think, start from the middle, since we did the last 2 rapid fires from either end. So, Mr. Dixon, if you would go first, and then we will go west and come back.
Well, first, I just want to say thank you again to Journey of Hope, to Pastor Gerard, to Chuck Kaiser for putting this all together. My name is Corey Dixon. I'm running for re-election to Elgin City Council, and I hope that you all consider me as one of 4 votes when you go into the voting booth. I'm born and raised here in Elgin, graduated from Elgin High, although I did attend Larkin High. I have a bachelor's in business management. I have a master's in public administration with a concentration of government. I work in law enforcement with the Kane County Sheriff's Office. I work specifically in diversion and reentry programs. I care about this community, not just because I'm in this seat, but before I even was ever here. I started off my career as a caseworker for the Department of Human Services. So I've always worked with people who had financial issues, mental health issues, substance abuse issues, and so many other things. And so I'm running for re-election because there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. There are a lot of projects that have to be carried out. And some of those point back to the questions that were asked earlier today about the development that's happening near Gail Borden Library, about what's happening in our downtown, what's happening on Randall Road, what's happening with these new evolving and developing communities on the west side of town, what is happening in our Latino and Hispanic communities. And there are so many changes and so many extra additional things that we can be doing as a city council that I need to continue to advocate for. And so I'm asking for your support so I can continue to be that advocate, so I can continue to speak to the things that you care most about, so I can always be that council person that you can always reach via social media, email, phone, text, and so on and so forth. I want to be the best representative that I can possibly be for all of you. And so thank you for all of your support over the years. And I hope and I pray that you continue to support me as I go forward as an Elgin City Council member. Thank you.
Thank you.
So my name is Dustin Good. You can learn more about me at a web page that's named dustingood.com. In there, I try to lay out things I think are important to residents, things that would be important to me. So I'm running for my 2nd term. It's a resident funded campaign. That's what we did last time. That's what we're doing this time. As stated earlier, just show up to work. I've been to 100% of the meetings throughout my 4 years. We've got a lot of challenges ahead of us. And so something I said earlier is we need to optimize for stability. That's a fancy way of just saying we need to stay really solid as not only a community, but as a city entity, as well as the other taxing bodies that we're near. It was also mentioned in the TIF district. Part of the mechanism for that is that we have to have buy-in from the other taxing bodies. So it's incredibly important that you have council members who are tapped into your community, who know who is operating the other bodies of government and how to make sure that we're going after all of the different federal dollars, state dollars, and anything locally. Beyond that, something I think that makes me unique and I'm pretty proud of is that during my time on council, I voted for and against every one of my colleagues. It It's been an interesting path to take because, you know, sometimes you have to cast a vote that you disagree with people that you really respect. But at least in my 4 years, that's something I'm proud of. I put that on tape, is that I try to take all the information that's available to me and make the best decision for everybody here in Elgin. And that's a challenging thing to do because we are at-large representatives. So we represent 38 square miles. We represent over 115,000 people, but that's the job that we're signing up for. And I just want to reiterate the things that I put on the tape, which is, you know, you've got 4 years of evidence. You can look at my voting record. You can see how I vote. You know, I'm running a resident-funded campaign, so I answer to nobody but the residents. And you've got somebody that I think has earned the support of some of the local institutions, whether it's newspapers or if it's my colleagues that have served on council for decades and decades. They've given me that pat on the back and said, please step up for a second term. So I'm asking you for your vote tonight.
Thank
Justin
you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Mark Smith, and I'm running for Elgin City Council. And just to recap kind of from my introduction, I'm a proud 22-year Army veteran. I'm a former Elgin police officer. And I've served on the Elgin Image Advisory Commission. I've served as the president of the Elgin Patriotic Memorial Association, and I'm a current member of the newly formed Elgin Civilian Police Review Board. So I am an implant to Elgin, or implant to Elgin. I guess I was born and raised downstate in Bloomington Normal, so I've been around the Elgin area since 2009. My wife is an Elginite, so we moved back here after we retired from the Army. Fell in love with Elgin as a police officer. Currently working for the Department of Homeland Security and Transportation Security Administration as a security specialist. So have a great background and foundation in public safety, major security events, and just dealing with crime and things in different cities. My focus is going to be economic growth, community development, and transparency and accountability. And one of the many questionnaires that we've had to answer from different organizations was one of my, what would be one of your future ideas? And I would push for quarterly or semi-annual town hall type sessions where we would either bring together, say, people at the Hemmons or maybe the Heritage Ballroom, and just be transparent and open communication, not you only have 3 minutes to speak at this thing. We want you to be able to, we want to hear from the residents. We want to make you know that you're valued and heard, and all topics will be okay at that type of venue. And then really going back to citizen engagement and feedback is very key to anyone that's going to be on the city council. I feel if elected, I'd be able to work with any of the candidates up here, and I humbly ask for your vote for city council tonight. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Steve Thoren. I'm born at Sherman Hospital. I went to U46 schools. I graduated from Elgin Community College. I love Elgin. I've been a voice on WRMN for 19 years. I'm also a regular public speaker. I think that helps me to communicate and express things well for not only the public and different people in the public, but also even my colleagues. I also deal with the senior community on a regular basis. I help seniors, engage with them. I'm a past board member of the Senior Services. I've even said I consider myself the voice for seniors on the council. I'm proud to say that I've engaged myself in many volunteer opportunities with the Elgin Police Department and Fire, and I'm endorsed by both of their unions this year, and proud of the Daily Herald newspaper that covers us so well. Here's our reporter right there, Rick West, that's taking pictures and taking notes, and they endorsed me as well. I ask for your vote, for your support. I care about you being here, and you care about us being up here. All of us have different opinions, but we all care about Elgin. That's why when I was asked which one of them, I had to pick one. It was a very tough thing because I respect everybody up here. I'm a respectful person, and I think it's great that everyone steps up to want to serve their city. I love the fact that I can serve the people and the town that means so much to me. I'm engaged in my neighborhood. I'm a neighborhood watch captain, and I have one of those national night out neighborhood parties once a year. Bring all the neighbors over. They all get to meet each other. New neighbors meet new neighbors, and old ones rekindle old friendships. Hopefully I can continue my friendship with all of you. Thank you. I hope to get your vote when it's time.
My name is Deanna Alfaro, and I'm born and raised in Elgin. I attended Loris Park Elementary, Lorison Middle School, and Elgin High School. I have a bachelor's in political science and Latin American Latino studies with a concentration in contemporary politics. I also have a master's in international public service. I worked over 10 years in higher education with a focus on federal regulatory compliance, which gives me experience in how to work with the federal government and how to navigate the federal government. I have over 9 years of experience in community outreach and community engagement, how to work with the community, how do you build trust with the community, how do you be intentional with the community, because the community is not all the same. There are different interests to different individuals. And so how do you make sure that you are intentional with each demographic and making sure that their voices are heard? I have that experience. I have 5 years of experience working in state government and economic development, supporting small businesses throughout the state of Illinois and making sure that they're connected to the resources they need to create and grow their business. That's experience that I have that I could bring to city council to think outside the box. How do we create economic development that will bring innovative ideas and approaches? How do we address that $240 million leakage? How do we create opportunities for the community to have a say in the budget, to vote on the things that they want to see done and prioritize? I emphasize myself in being community oriented. I believe in making sure your voices are heard, even if I don't agree with them. I want to hear your voice. I want to know what you think. I want to know why you think that. And so we could come together to make sure that we strengthen Elgin as a community, as one. I humbly ask for your vote on April 1st, and I look forward to speaking with you and getting to know you. Thank you for your time tonight.
About that, Diana. My name is Maggie Beyer, and I want you to know that for the last 42 years, I was a practice administrator and a medical consultant working with cancer patients and surgical patients. And I would work 3 days a week, but beyond 24/7, I was always on call. By the time Thursday would come by, I would see sometimes 60 cancer patients in a day. And I have to tell you, I was exhausted and I felt so bad. But the reason I felt bad is because the cancer patients, after hearing their diagnosis, would tell me, thank you. And here I thought, I just changed your life because you found out what's going on now. But they thanked me for being compassionate and understanding. I also worked and managed 23 different doctors and dentists. All of you know what they can be like sometimes. And I can tell you, I worked well with their personalities. I have a habit of listening to people and trying to understand what their viewpoint is, let them know what my viewpoint is. And I know we can never agree. That's always the way it is. But I try to compromise the best. I listen to them. And that's what I think we should do. I also want you to know that I've been a proven leader. I have organized and co-founded numerous organizations, and I've done that over the years. I did Kane County Medical Managers. I also worked with Newborns in Need. I was our first president here in Fox Valley. There's so many different organizations I wanted to get involved with, and people said, how could you do that? Where'd you find the time? I made the time, just like I think all of us up here will make the time for the city council. And I think that being an active volunteer and a concerned citizen for over 30 years, and I want Elgin to feel safe walking downtown. I would love to walk downtown Elgin like I used 2 years ago, but I don't do it right now. And I'd like to have our garages look better from outside and our houses look better. I think the code enforcement is something we really have to do something about. I am so tired of driving down the street and seeing garbage in people's yards and seeing garbage cans outside or broken windows or just trash in general. We should clean these things up. Oh, I got.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cecilia Ivana Brooks, and I'm running for Elgin City Council because I have a passion for people and politics. I love this city and I love the people in it, but I know that we can do so much better, and we have exponential opportunity, and I want to see the abundance of untapped potential grow. I want to create a city of Elgin where families and businesses have the opportunity for exponential growth, because I believe in this city and I believe in the people. And I understand that politics start at a local level, which is why the only way to lead is from the bottom up. And I want to create a government here in the city of Elgin that is powered by the people for the people, because we, the people, deserve to be a part of this decision-making process. And I am so excited and hopeful for the future of the city of Elgin. I want to prioritize and deeply, deeply commit to prioritizing business and economic development and exponential growth through those opportunities. And I also am deeply committed to maneuvering our mental health and substance abuse crisis. I also want to put a strong emphasis on improving community relations through transparency and creating an actively engaged community, while also empowering our youth, because the investment in our youth is immeasurable. The youth are our future, and we really need to give them a seat at the table and start actively engaging all citizens of Elgin and all the residents. So, with eternal hope for the future, I respectfully ask for your support by voting for me on Tuesday, April 1st, Cecilia Ivana Brooks, for Elgin City Council. I thank you for your consideration. May God bless America, and may God bless the city of Elgin. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to all of you guys. Thank you, guys. My name is Marcellus Day. I am the write-in candidate. I have been raised in Elgin my entire life. I went to school out here my entire life. My parents lived out here for 40 years. Unfortunately, they have moved away. They moved away in 2014. They were unhappy with some of the things that Elgin was doing at the time, so they left. Well, when my parents were here, my mother, she started an organization for animals, dogs, cats, called Illinois Animal Rescue. And it actually grew pretty big. And so she did it with her friend. It was a good size. Then she said, hey, we need to find a space that we can have these animals. My dad was looking for properties. Fortunately, they weren't able to come with anything here, so they ran up to Minnesota. So they have a giant property up there. They have animals out there, and so on and so on. Now, going back onto this, I decided to run because of some of the things that my parents did while they were here. They are the reason why I am up here today. I feel that I am the right candidate to speak to that younger demographic. I feel getting them more involved in the decisions in our city, and for that next generation, those younger kids that are out there that don't understand, we can explain to them, having more things to do in Elgin. It doesn't have to be downtown. It can be on Randall. It can be going towards South Elgin. It can be going towards Carpentersville, whatever the case may be. I feel I am that right candidate, and I appreciate all of you guys listening to me and giving me the chance up here to speak. And thank you. My name is Marcellus Day, and I am running for write-in candidate from City Council.
Thank you, candidates, and good luck.
Yes, would you give them all a wonderful round of applause? Thank you so much. Thank you. And this type of thing doesn't just happen all on its own. There are so many others who have helped out with this. So I'd certainly ask you to recognize not only all the candidates, but our wonderful moderator, Sonar. Thank you so much. One of our key organizers, Chuck Kaiser, is putting stuff together. But also so many volunteers in the background, because we're going to invite you real soon to go across into our community room for continued time with our candidates. But just wanted to thank you all for coming out tonight. I'm going to invite Dino to come up. I'm going to grab the green microphone for Dino here, because I know he has something that he wants to say as well. But I just wanted to let everybody know that here at Journey of Hope we have this vision of offering a space that is belonging, a space where everybody is welcome to come in. And it's a space that we also offer for changing our lives. And also a space that we are encouraged to go out and share the message that we have been told. So a lot of times we talk about whether or not politics should be involved in church. And I said, you know what I'm hearing from all of the candidates up here is talking about community. It's talking about loving our neighbor. And that is our mission. It is to love God, and it is to love our neighbor. How do we do that? And so I appreciated all of the comments that you have all shared because it really kind of points to that love of neighbor and love of community. And that's why we do this. And so thank you for allowing Journey of Hope to be the host site for this. I'm certainly glad to have all of you here. And Dino, would you like to share a little bit?
Yes, thank you very much. A great round of applause for Pastor Jared, Chuck Kaiser. We also had our runners, Zach and Ben, if they're still in the house. Thank you guys for bringing those questions up to us. But a round of applause again for this lovely group of candidates that we have. This is not an easy task, and what we'd like to do is invite each and every one of you to WRMN. Get with either myself or Sonar. I'll give you our card, and you could talk from out to lunch. It's a 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock point. 9 to 10, we have even a political talk show. It's not a selfless commercial, but a lot of what you had to say, maybe it could be expanded, and you could do so, because we've gotten away from getting a coupon for $5 off. We're community broadcasters, and that's who we are. WRMN is everybody here. We're your radio station. We're here to represent each and every one of you, and we want to get the news out, and any topic of any interest of yours is an interest of ours. So see my partner, Dennis, or myself. We can schedule you in for a time. We'd love to have every one of you, and we'll be as accommodating as we can. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending. You're going to have opportunity to meet these great candidates just right across the hall for some refreshments. Thank you very much. Pastor?
Yes, thank you. So make sure that if your question wasn't answered tonight, you're going to get a chance. Go over to the community room. There's refreshments over there. Ask more questions. Pick up your signs, any of the promotional materials that you need to take with you tonight. Have a wonderful evening.